All right, for roll call, we have Amber Greaves here, Christy Verbeck. And I'm gonna Jeff Sleeve here, Joanne Maneri here, Karen Noisy. So, Michael McDonald.
Here.
Rita Trainer here, Todd Gleason
Here.
Tracy Dane. Sent President Clark here, myself, and then we have Mike Foster.
Yes.
And the next item on the agenda is the agenda approval. And to the agenda tonight, we need to add the approval of the non-motorized trains letter. And I've got that now on the adjusted agenda as item 3B. And then the next item, 3B.
Oh,
No.
yes.
And the next
You
item,
have to vote on that. I'll move that we add the approval
sure.
of.
Amber moved, Mike seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. And public comment is the next item on the agenda. And we have Peter Ruprecht here this evening to provide some public comment.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm Peter Ruprecht. I just wanted to share a little information with everybody about a small vegetation restoration project that I and one of the other Weed Warrior volunteers have been discussing with town staff over the last couple of weeks. So on one of the newly purchased open space areas in Original Town, so a little bit north of Coal Creek along Charles Street, has had quite a lot of plant and soil disturbance over the last few years. First the fire, there was tree removal activity with heavy equipment and dumpsters in there, and subsequently some of the residential construction has had equipment and trucks and stuff driving through there. And as a result, unfortunately, that area has kind of come back almost 100% as weeds, mostly listed noxious weeds, in fact. And the habitat quality, especially for insects and birds, is commensurately significantly reduced. So ideally, a vegetation restoration would try and get rid of all the weeds and replace those with more beneficial native plants. But one tricky part is that the whole area gets mowed down short as part of the town's fire fuel reduction plans or project or whatever, however that's called. And so our idea is just to put in a few small pollinator islands or pollinator oases that native plants in them would be hand weeded and would not be mowed. And so the idea is to have plots that are small enough that they aren't perceived as a fire risk, and that aren't a fire risk, but are also big enough that they'll attract, some wildlife to them. A few other towns have recently started doing this. I went to go see a little project in North Glen earlier in the week that has been going for about a year now. It's a bigger area, but it's the same idea. And I guess I should mention that the idea is that this should be pretty much like volunteer labor, and there wouldn't have to be a lot of staff time and so forth put into it. So anyway, the proposal is to create 3 8-foot by 8-foot plots, take out weeds, put in native seeds this fall. So the time to do that is right around the first snowfall, and to choose species that wouldn't require irrigation, and that could hopefully, just get established themselves from seed if there weren't weeds to compete with. But before, we go too much farther on this, I really wanted to make sure that staff have thumbs up on it and that OSAC is behind kind of a project like this, on your open space. And, I'm not asking.
I'm not staff, but as the first man, thumbs up on
I
it.
guess not really.
Is that, I'm having trouble picturing the property. Is it adjacent to the creek?
It is. Yeah, so that property
Where's
is adjacent to our creek, but the part that we're wanting to mitigate is closer to the road.
Yeah.
So it's probably within 30 or 40 feet of the road, and then the property goes back another 100 feet or something. Oh, yeah, so let's see.
And Peter and I have had a few email exchanges on it, so
Like right in here's Charles Street.
yeah, so we're the Fairy
It's
Gardens.
kind of right there. So yeah.
Plots 5 and 6.
Very good.
Yeah,
Okay, that's.
and that area has been disturbed and it is pretty messy in there. And I think this is a great project, and kind of what we went back and forth on is the original town open space properties have a little bit of a challenge versus other open space properties because they're adjacent to vacant lots that haven't been rebuilt on yet. Some of them are in the same proximity, and then the town's requiring homeowners, landowners to mow their undeveloped, the plots they haven't built on yet. And so if we don't mow and we make them mow, it seems a little inconsistent. But I think this is a great idea and a great educational tool to kind of get people used to what open space should look like in little sample plots and kind of work in that direction. Hopefully someday the whole property would have that natural look to it. So the less we have to mow, the better, but right now kind of in that mode. So
Yeah.
And how many 8x8 plots did you say? Three. Okay.
Yeah, so it's under 200 square feet, so it's a relatively small amount, maybe separated from each other by at least 8 or 10 feet each, so they should be pretty visually separate.
So nothing like framing them in, right? Would they, or just natural from the dirt, not like
not raised bed.
nothing. Yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
We might have
Timber.
to do something so we don't mow over them.
Oh, okay.
Just
Yeah.
something that
Mhm.
is visual so that people mowing know we're not sure, but yeah.
Yeah, so I do have like a couple of potential asks. One would be staking or some demarcation around them that would be, minimal, but prevent the mowers from going over it. We might need a little bit of wildflower seed, like maybe $20 or $30 worth. If you
Don't you
don't
have some?
We have a bunch of giveaway packets. Follow away.
Yeah. If you have a variety you want to email to us, we can get that, and we already have some native seed, but if you have a particular kind you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten some stuff too, but I don't think it's quite enough.
Yeah, I think you probably still have, do you still have
No, she's
the
the.
bag of the native seed? Oh. Seeds for everything. Okay, yeah, I thought you just gave her the packet. Those packets, yes, or you talking about all the time bags, the big
bag.
burlap, we got.
So I think that's grass.
Yeah, it's ground.
So we probably want a little bit of that, and then some flowers too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then somebody had suggested maybe a little sign, just so that something very
As an
simple.
educational.
That, this is what's happening here. That's why it's not a big problem. And, I mean, there's additional things we can do. We could put some aggressive annual plants out in the whole area. It's super easy to get sued for that kind of thing. And then just see how it came back or not after being mowed. You have to try and have a natural way of keeping the weeds down.
But annuals, not.
That would be annuals, yeah.
Mm.
Perennials, I don't think you could get to establish well if they were being mowed.
And Peter, is there irrigation out there, or would you think you would need any kind of watering, even though if they're low water plants, need something?
Yeah, you can get started. Probably would need hand water a little bit. There's no working irrigation out there anymore.
Okay.
One question would be is whether we can get buckets out of the creek. Is that allowed?
Not really. We do have a water tank. that we typically keep in the back of one of our park maintenance trucks that they hand water with during the winter. So, I mean, we could ask them to fill that up, and bring it by on a schedule maybe, but it's like a 300-gallon tank.
Yeah, and that would be overkill. I just
Really just have them out there.
that I could fill in. Oh
yeah.
But I just had.
Yeah.
Which I could totally do. And the idea is that over the long term, these would be, you know, actual native plants, not like the low water garden plants that really do need to be watered, but ones that could survive fine.
Let's talk about that, and maybe there's a way that they could fill up like a 55-gallon container out there and just leave it out there.
Yeah.
We
And then
find
you can
one that's not
refill it
full
from the
of-
water.
barrel. Yeah, but we want something that doesn't look too tacky.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is a question for spring.
Yeah. I think it's an awesome idea, and I mean, we've been struggling, I think, with how to revegetate some of these areas, and this is a step in the right direction, I think.
But you're talking about doing that this fall.
Yeah,
And then you just said spring, this is the watering. Wouldn't
Yeah.
you need to do the watering as soon as you plant the seed?
Nope. I would put them in and like right before a snowstorm.
Mhm.
Watch the weather, and then that kind of pushes them down into the soil.
Okay.
Does the initial wetting for them, and then they just stratify themselves during the winter. And then, you know, if we have like a dry spring or something, then we need some extra water. Obviously, I'm gonna need a lot of hand weeding, but we've got a couple of the weed warriors on board, so
That are willing to do that.
we're excited to do that. So
Would
I
you
mean,
need to prepare the ground at all?
just raking. Yeah. So you can obviously do way more. Till they put on mulch, they you seed it with live plants, but now you're talking about a lot of work and money and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And I thought it would just be interesting to see what the minimal effort we could put into it and see if it actually worked.
Sounds great.
Yeah, pilot project.
Have you talked about with anybody about the type, I'm sure you know a lot about the plants that would work there, but is there anybody else that's gonna weigh in on like, hey, I think this is the recommendation for what would work?
So I got a recommendation for a orb mix from the Butterfly Pavilion,
Okay, great.
which is working on a handful, I guess, of projects almost identical to this, but so they had a suggestion.
Good place to know.
Yeah,
Is there anything more you need from us tonight?
permission, I think.
Well,
Are we-
from an OSAC perspective, I heard anybody who was speaking was positive. Yeah. But now from a staff perspective, right, there you go.
You guys rock.
Wildlife and Habitat team would love to be involved.
You know, from a habitat perspective, that's exactly right in the alley. So there will need to be hands to pull weeds in spring for sure.
It might even make sense. I mean, I know a few folks that live down in that area. Might even make sense to see if you can get folks from the local area to pitch in, just to have some ownership, you know, kind of.
Yeah, in fact, there's a lady right across the street who is very enthusiastic and
Good.
about this. So I think that would be a great way to at least get going on this. And again, it's a small thing. It's not gonna, take 20 volunteers to work on a couple people. Great. Cool. Well, thank you very much. That was probably more than my 5 minutes.
Well, that's because we had questions.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks very much. So the next item on the agenda is the staff and town council liaison updates. Of the three of you, I don't know, whoever wants to start.
I'll start.
Today, the town council heard the first, not reading, but the first budget presentation, 2026 budget presentation by staff. So kind of recommending or presenting what the staff would be recommending as part of the 2026 budget process. We have another budget hearing scheduled for next Thursday from 9 to noon. So if we're really interested in hearing about all the debt service payments and operational things the town has planned for 2026, please tune in. Next Monday is a council work session, and there's going to be a couple of big items. Town staff is going to be talking about the breadth of events that they manage throughout the year and the workload that that requires, and if there are opportunities to maybe take a look at re-envisioning some of these events so they may not, so they're not as time intensive from a staff perspective. Obviously the community loves events, but I think there's a lot of sentiment on the council that we don't want to be burning our staff out with large back-to-back events, because they take a lot of time, a lot of resources, and that a lot of town staff are working a lot of overtime hours to make these events happen. So
that you could get more volunteers for, if you really.
I think that's all going to be part of the discussion. Yep. Michaela and Leslie are going to be there talking about that. So yeah, looking forward to hearing their ideas. Matt Magley, the town manager, has also scheduled a company to come in and talk about libraries and what it takes to own and operate and maintain libraries. Over the last 19 years, the town has paid over $5 million to Louisville library, and the town council started to ask questions. Well, are there economies of scales if we have our own library rather than paying $400,000+ a year to Louisville? What's the ROI on that? So we're going to get more information on all the things it takes to own and operate and manage a library. So,
And they don't have a place in mind.
no, this is just like
Discussion.
this is a work session, so no decisions are being made. It's just information being shared and an opportunity for the council to ask questions. And
Yeah, I didn't know they were paying that much.
our rates have been going up about 8% a year. So
Do we know what the participation is from the period of residence versus Louisville?
we do, I don't know that.
I think it's part of the presentation.
If you're interested, it's a public meeting, so please feel free to tune in or come down to town hall. Yeah.
Okay.
And then probably the big item, a couple big items, the North Pool design came back and it was significantly over budget by about $1 million. And so Leslie and team are looking at value engineering opportunities to kind of scale back that cost. And just given where we are with the timeline, looks like we're gonna push construction so we can put this out to bid at a more favorable time and have the pool open for the 2027 swimming season. So there's still a lot of work that Leslie and her team need to do to look at how we scale back what we've been asking for and where we can save costs and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
So stay as is for 2026.
Oh, so it will be open.
It will be open.
Oh, I thought you were saying it wouldn't be
It
open.
will be open. Barring any.
It could open this long.
Yes.
I think it's one more year.
The duct tape and baling wire. And then on the 22nd of September, town council will be considering the rezoning of town 15. So that went to the planning commission back in June, and they made a recommendation to not rezone town 15, but that's coming before the town council on the 22nd of September. So
That's after the completion of like the appraisal and.
my understanding is that language related to the comprehensive plan is going to be a part of that presentation. I'm guessing the appraisal work will be completed. Yeah. So hoping that there's kind of a robust conversation.
And that's public.
There's a public meeting. Yeah.
September 22nd.
September 22nd. Yeah.
Cool.
And then on a personal note, my last day with Boulder County Parks and Open Space is tomorrow.
Really?
So looking for new opportunities. Got a lot done in the last 4.5 years and feel very accomplished and it's time to try something new. Okay. So now we can be more of a liaison person. Role is-
It sounds like you're right about the aggressive cows. We read it in the paper.
Okay.
Not the paper are going right. You guys read that? The Daily Camera had an article about metal art being closed and.
Yes.
Those particular,
Article, actually.
those particular group of, that particular group of cows being like super. So I don't know, that's some people up. Yeah.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
I'll go last.
A couple programs coming up. And one coming up for the next star party, so stargazing event is gonna be on September 19th, which is a Friday, 7:30 to 9 at the Colton Trailhead. It will be at the trailhead, not on the trail. And then we got a good turnout so far. We had 35 out of 50 people signed up. And the last one was pretty good too, so their second time was Stanley Lake Stargazing. And then the next one is gonna be with Ashley Dulock. She's running a nature and night program about bats and owls. So that's gonna be October 4th, Saturday, 5:30 to 7.
What was the date again?
October 4th,
Thank you.
Saturday. That one will be at, I think it's Community Park Basketball. Yeah, Community Park Basketball. And then the other update I have is just, I talked about this with Leslie last time. I just wanted to get your thoughts if it is worth exploring a little bit more about trail counters. So I talked to 2 different companies and one of them has been used, Trafex has been used by Boulder County for about more than 10 years. And I talked to the person who's like in charge of all the data collection and things about that, her feedback. And Eco Counter was a different one, and this one is used with other municipalities surrounding us, like Boulder, City of Boulder uses them. I think a lot of Denver uses them. Between the 2 that I've noticed, Trafex is more affordable than Eco Counter. Eco Counter has more advanced technology, so things about like their sensors, if you want it mobile versus a permanent installation, and the difference between like identifying a pedestrian walking versus a biker and things like that. And then it goes on to like filters and all these features like on the app itself. So they're a company out in Montreal, Canada. So I talked to the representative there and he kind of gave me some intel about like how the other cities around us have been using it and how it has benefited them in data collection. But yeah, I would say price point, budget, depending on how much, if you want to choose to move forward, how much do you spend, how much do you start out with, things like that. And they kind of gave us. Basically like a layout sheet of like, okay, if you want this, how much is price point will be, this and that, depending on software we want, all those things. So those are the 2 options that I've explored so far if you want to move forward with the calendars. I thought of Coyote Ridge being the biggest one that would be very helpful.
The one we run to get
Where is it
first.
supposed to counter, I think, since there's so many different points.
I know, I thought the main thing is about probably more than 5 for sure from the neighborhood. And then 1, maybe 2 spots of Broomfield side, especially the gate like we were talking about. That's a really big access point. There's multiple locations, so I thought maybe putting like maybe 3 or 4 out there because people access it from all these areas. Just to start out, and then if you want to identify between like biker versus like person with the, walking and with the dog or hiking and things like that, that's a different thing. And if you want to keep it mobile, we can, where we can move it around instead of doing a permanent installation.
What do you want to do with the data once you get it?
I wanted to see where the access points are that are mainly, like where people are coming from or moving out, the flow of traffic, and also like, you can also collect data of like, when is the busiest times, when is it like where there's a lull? Or are people coming in like at nighttime versus like, daytime? And then what are the issues that brings us up? Like if we say, okay, we see a lot of people who are hiking versus biking, do we need to enforce more of like yield signs and things like that, wayfinding with bikers? Just the flow of like how the space is being used. I think enforcement would be good, because I know one of the biggest things that we have issue that we have there is dogs off leash. So I know that's gonna keep going. Things like
Raising the trailer counter would offer helpful data on dogs off leash.
I think, yeah,
How would it do that?
it gets, what is it, heat, body heat from people who pass by the counter, and they keep it very low from like a stand. So it can identify like who's coming in, who's passing by, like if it's like a large animal, or so they say like a deer, it can like identify if a deer is passing by, things like that,
Or a dog?
or a dog.
How would you know whether it's on leash or off leash? I feel like I'm.
I think it would be, yeah.
I was just gonna add, I mean, I don't have scientific numbers, obviously, but I would hazard to guess there's more walkers than bikers out there. So whatever you end up getting, it should work well with people on foot, dogs and things like that. I've seen the biker ones that are just like the little things that you run over, like that little black.
Yeah.
Hose or something that you run over. So
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna ask too. That probably wouldn't work so great for walkers.
Which stuff
counters,
was it?
because it just.
I think-
Oh, I probably step over it.
I think it's an electronic eye.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. That's different than, I don't know much about it.
So the city of Boulder's model, whatever the name of that one was, that's the one that would allow you to distinguish riders from walkers,
Mhm.
not the one that Boulder County, not the one that Boulder County uses.
Boulder County, theirs is just like a sensor, like you've seen the one at Colton Trail,
Yeah.
like that box, that's what
Yeah.
we have. And that one is a manual, that's another thing that's different versus like Eco Counter offers either the manual piece where you can like go and like re-download the data like from, let's say, a flash drive or something.
Yeah.
You would have to go out like once a month or something to collect it. Yeah, versus you can do it automatically, you pay more money for that, but it goes straight to the system. And then Trafex, you have to manually collect them. Which is another affordable, they're thinking, the reason why I mentioned eco counters, because when I talked to the person at county, they said that they've tried to explore eco counters. Well, they're trying to see if they have it in their budget to do that.
What's the price points between the two?
I would have to, what was it?
Quite a bit of difference.
Trafex, I don't know the software price from the top of my head. Trafex is about $500 to $600 per counter. And I think the other one, I can't remember, it's more, it's way more.
I think it was like 5,000, but you got more than one.
You get more than one, you can get like a bundle kit basically.
5,000.
Yeah.
You might get like 3.
Yeah, you start out with like a few and then you build from there.
That's like 5,000 versus 1,500 or 1,800. So like you're saying, I think.
And I assume that in addition, there's cost associated with sticking a post in the ground and
That's,
So
we
on,
can do
right.
most of that in-house, but the software cost.
It's the cost of the equipment and then the type of features you want with that equipment. Like, let's say if it was mobile versus a permanent installation, and then the type of features you want in the software itself.
So mobile or permanent, which is more expensive or less? Mobile. That's what I was figuring.
And so it seems, if you put one in a location and after there's not much activity or interesting data, I can see wanting to move it. But to have a counter that you move monthly doesn't seem to be, or even seasonally, doesn't seem to be very valuable because use on all our trails varies
Quite a bit.
seasonally.
If she's saying permanent, doesn't that mean that you can't move it even if you're only moving it
I think you
once?
Does permanent mean
Permanent.
permanently immobile?
Yeah.
Or You can still take it off the boat. and put it on.
More work for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think
Okay.
that the important feature would be to distinguish bikes and people, and the mobile aspect, I would think is less critical, because it's.
Between
They go out.
Hopefully we pick a good spot to begin with.
Yeah, I mean.
And if we pick, like if we got 4, maybe we could
Yeah.
select 4 entry
I
points.
could think of 3 or 4 easily.
From the town's perspective, is there any interest in monitoring the traffic on the Rock Creek Trail or any of those trails?
I mean, sure, it
Or-
would be, I think there would be a lot of interest in monitoring, any counting that we can do will help us with grant fundings, because we have no data, that's real data, we have what we think.
Right.
Anecdote.
Hunter mentioned like how different municipalities uses data also to get grant funding. But they said they're able to work with grants as well, like working with like payment, plans and stuff.
So
Other reason
What-
grants fund.
what if you came back with a proposal with pricing? Kind of a moderate pricing and a high pricing or something
Yeah.
that we could
Yes.
evaluate? From what I hear, it sounds like that. Forgive me, whatever.
Eco counting,
Eco counter is a more versatile.
well, and we can start off with like the starter bundle or whatever it is,
yeah.
and then every year potentially, we add to it, so. Cause I think it'd be great to have, I mean, I think the county has counters almost on every trailhead, right?
Yeah.
Just about.
Seems like
At least the popular ones.
Mhm. And it would give us some interesting information to
Yeah.
guide our work, so. Awesome. I have just a few updates if you're ready for me to run through. So the goats will be back mid-November. They're looking at having a meet and greet on November the 22nd at Autry Park. We have a donation of 10 cottonwood saplings that are coming from one of our public works staff. They were volunteers and he's been nurturing them in pots and they're ready to replant. So I need some help on where we want to put them. I know that there was interest in doing some replanting down along Rock Creek where the timber was.
Yeah.
So, but I think they're not sap, they're not little twigs, they're in like 5-gallon buckets, so they're pretty big. But if people have ideas of where we may want to put them, I might be able to get some help in planting them. We lost all those cottonwoods on Rock Creek, on Coal Creek down by the soccer field. I think we lost almost a dozen there. And I don't know if we want to look at replanting some of those, but.
So wasn't there like a planful effort to restore Rock Creek?
Mhm.
Well, would they have recommendations on exactly where along the creek, or what was that again?
So, Mile High Flood District, I just had a meeting with them today. And they are working on a revegetation plan.
Okay, outside of these donated trees.
Outside of these donated trees, and they should have a draft to me next week, they said.
Okay.
So, I'd like to bring that and have you all look at it. I can send it out, when I receive it, and, I'm not sure what to expect, 'cause I've never seen what kind, I think they don't normally do these kind of things, so it's something different for them too. So there might be a little back and forth to get it where we want it to be, but.
So it may indicate on there where they would recommend trees, or it may not.
Or it may not, and I think these trees, we're gonna have to get them in the ground in the next 2 weeks. Because
Okay.
they've been living in pots okay, but we're also getting to that point in the year where we wanna have things in the ground for about a month before we get a freeze, so.
What about reaching out to Peter and Tracy and asking for recommendations from them?
I could do that.
I know
That
Tracy
would
had a
be-
lot to say about like the loss of trees along that
Right.
corridor, so
Mhm.
maybe she is. It's like, I know she had a lot of kind of fervor about her feelings about it, that way, at one of the fire meetings.
You are right about the dead trees on the Coal Creek by the soccer field, though. There has been some stuff that didn't make it there.
Well, we had large mature trees that were fire impacted and they have basically, their trunks exploded.
Yeah.
And yeah, we lost a lot of those. There was a whole little grove down in there.
But there are a lot of just even big shrub things that aren't trees that look dead there now. I've noticed that when you walked by.
But that's going on. The other thing, that Mile High Flood District is gonna be working on in the next year is 3 more of the ponds that they're going to dredge out, clean out, and they're really looking at cleaning out the inlet and the outlet and the places in between, so it won't be a full, dredging of the whole entire area, but the 88th Street pond that you can see, that is almost looks like 2 little puddles.
Or we have the camera.
Yeah, so they're gonna be hitting that one first. And they have 1 contractor working on that, and then the 2 ponds on the south side of Rock Creek Circle. That's down in there, they're gonna hit those after, with a different contractor, and they're gonna try and do these in the winter time, so that when they get down in there, there's not as much impact to the surrounding area. And they always look worse before they look better, so, that's kind of
So
unfortunate.
that's 2 in Purple Park.
No, 88th Street and then 2 on the south side of Rock Creek Circle. So,
One between.
so if you walk, Rock Creek Circle. If you walk up there, if you look on the south side, there's a hill and it goes down, there's 2.
It's a pathway that leads to Eldorado, Case where we kids go straight along these, there's 2 ponds, right?
Yep.
That's walk right along.
And I can show you on a map that we don't have in here. But we can look at that.
It's right.
And the only other thing I had on my list was, through the FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, we are able to start, getting grant support for basically removal of vegetative fuels. So it's anything, it's mowing, weeding, limb removal, just any of that sort of stuff. We hired a project management firm to help us manage that. And the firm's name is Bentel. They're like in Lafayette, they're right close. They're in our neighborhood. This is like a really small project for them. They're used to doing major, like wildfire mitigation projects and plans, throughout the country. And they took this on because it's in their backyard and they thought it was nice to do something local, but they're bringing a lot of expertise to us, which will be fun.
Have they made any recommendations yet, or they're?
No, it was just approved on Monday.
Oh, okay.
They'll write the grant and.
No, the grant was to hire them. So we already got the grant, we hired them. They're gonna manage whoever we hire to do mowing and.
And what's the name of the outfit?
Bintel, Bintel. Yep. So you might hear some recommendations coming out of that group of where we do some of this mitigation. Some of that was already vetted with FEMA, but kind of the cycle priorities, the methodology, they're gonna help us with. That's kind of exciting. I think that's all I have.
Hey, I have a dumb question, Leslie. You know how we've been kind of going back and forth on, the trees that were behind, like Eldorado, that were planted by the town. whatever years ago, right? And the town came by and cleaned up a lot of those seedlings in the last couple months. So thank you for that, but many of those have grown into lots that are, not occupied yet. And they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they were town trees. And so I think, we've all been kind of huddling on our street because it's concerning how big they're getting. And one of them's covering like a tenth of the lot at this point. And the town didn't clean them up because they're not on town property, right?
So they were like, the root system kind of
Yeah, and they're so big that expecting like an owner to clean them up at this time is kind of huge. But my question is, could those be uprooted and used as seedlings to transplant? Like, could we use them? You know, if we take them out.
I can have our arborist look at them and see what species they are and if it's viable to do that. I don't know the
think they were
answer
those
to that.
non-fruit bearing cottonwoods, and they were definitely planted by the town. Like, I mean, I want to say 17 years ago, probably. They were huge. They all burned. And so, but I mean, there's a lot of them and they grow fast. So I don't know, it'd be worth, I think, having somebody look at them and see if they could be used because they're quite healthy and they're getting massive.
Yeah, not my area of expertise, but I will ask.
They've been, they're. Okay, thank you.
Good. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the non-motorized grant letter. A copy of this letter was circulated to the OSAC team prior to tonight's meeting. So I'm just looking for a
I move that we approve the letter.
and a second. Mike is seconding. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the cattle grazing issue.
So, I mean, I can give a short update. I did include information in the weekly update that goes to the town council that OSAC was interested in approaching the county, asking if they would explore ways to keep the trail open. So I didn't say specifically fencing or specifically anything, but I didn't hear any negative comments about doing that. So I'm gonna go ahead and reach out to them. And you know, I think I did hear through the grapevine that they were looking at potentially options for moving a water source or adding a water source, which is kind of the first step that has to happen. But I haven't heard back on that to see if that was something that.
To move the water? Did you have to prove? Oh, I thought it was just a portable.
Yeah.
Tank.
Where the water is now, it's a spring, and so it fills the drop. It'll find water source.
Even if it's like 100 feet away. And I did get information from Louisville, what they did at David's, what vendors they used for.
Good. If you share, then I can pass that on.
Yeah, it was cattle.
Yeah. But at least get that conversation started. I don't think it's not a secret by any means, that, you know, obviously residents and other trail users would prefer to keep the trail open. So.
And 2 months is kind of a long time.
2 months is a long time. Yeah. It's funny because when I drive into work in the morning, when the trail's closed, there's all these people on the east side of McCaslin now running,
right? Yeah,
because they can't, you know, they have to run around.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting, but anyway, that's where I am with that. So hopefully I'll get that communication started here in the next week and see if we can.
And the next item on the agenda is the council's e-bike presentation at their meeting. That was at the last one, correct?
We're gonna have a more thorough conversation about e-bikes at a work session today.
So more to come next month.
It's
Thanks, Nate.
staff have outlined the makings of an ordinance. And I think the work session will be discussing the merits of that ordinance and other things that staff and council might want to see included in an ordinance. And then based on that ordinance will come back at a later session for consideration.
This is around speed limits and what classes are allowed on.
All of that, plus recognizing that there are parents that are buying e-motorcycles for their kids that
Mhm.
in the state of Colorado are illegal because you can't be riding that unless you're older than 16 and have a license and a helmet and all that kind of stuff. So
And they're riding them on the streets and on the sidewalks and running down the roads.
30 or 40 miles an hour on this,
Yeah.
on the path.
and at Chili Fest, there was a teenager that got in an accident, ran into the back of a car.
Yeah, I saw that. What did it?
I don't know.
I think he's okay, but I saw the footage. I hope, I've talked to other folks about this, and, the focus could be on like behavior versus equipment specifically, because you can do bad things on all kinds of.
With even a class
right?
one.
Like whether it's class 1 or class 3. And like a lot of folks will buy commuter bikes that are actually class 3 bikes because they can ride them on turnpike, bikeway and so forth. But I think that the critical distinction is like, let's not focus on equipment over behavior, because you can have bad behavior on all kinds of vehicles. And I saw footage of it because it was just across the street. And it was just like, that could happen to somebody who's on a bicycle too, or like any number of people. So yes, it happened to be a dirt bike in that case, but it's not probably legal on the road anyway. But
Right.
yeah, hopefully they focus on restrictions of speed versus type of equipment. That's just my 2 cents on it.
With an illegal.
Yeah, I mean, like if you have a class 3 bike, it can go 20, 30 miles an hour, but if you know that the speed limit is lower, then you observe the speed limit, right? You didn't been driving your car. Exactly. Yeah, somebody, they can't have, a fast car, just like a driver.
Maserati still has to.
Yeah.
It's speeding.
Right.
Well, I'm living behind, Rock Creek there. I mean, the stuff we are starting to see on the trail that's, right here is a little crazy. And it's
Creek.
it's like, along the creek there. It's getting pretty crazy.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the open space management plan.
So, I've been meeting with Carter on and off. This last round, we are looking at, a way to pull the comp plan goals into our document and what makes sense, because they're organized in the comp plan differently than I think we want them organized in our plan. So he's kind of Carter's focusing on ideas and looking at how other people have done that, kind of cross-referencing comp plan with other plans and see if there's a way to make sense that we can come back and then show to you all. The other piece of that is the current management plan does not really talk about programs, events, volunteers, youth corps, partnerships. And so Party and I are working on some language around that. So just kind of recognizing that when we did the management plan back in 2010, we didn't have a lot of those kind of things going on, or not as many of them. But, to talk a little bit about the open space programs, natural programs that we do. National Trails Day is really the only event. I mean, we do the Migratory Bird Day, so it's not always, doesn't take place in open space, but it's about open space in some regards. So looking at all those, and then definitely recognizing our volunteer force, because I think there's a huge impact there.
Okay. After our open space management, we move on to trail ranking. And I sent out the summary of the trail ranking, and basically what we need to vote on tonight is that well, there's two things. We want feedback on the actual tool itself that you used. And we need to vote whether to accept the summary voting so that when Leslie is continuing, or whoever else on the staff is actually sending in on the non-motorized grant and similar grants, that information can be included in there.
So feedback.
Feedback, yeah.
Yeah, and I provided this when I sent mine in, but one of the questions I had was when we were doing the scoring on those first 7 questions, it seemed like those were more facts versus, I felt like I was giving my input on something that officially the town of Superior should probably already know. Like,
I totally agree.
did you agree on that?
I said,
I know.
It's not subjective.
it's not
Right.
it's objective information.
Yeah, so I kind of felt like that should be provided to us versus we're kind of guessing.
In the first 7.
Yeah, those connectivity. Yeah, I was having a hard time with that. I did the best I could, but I felt like I could have got something wrong. So I don't know if we wanna redo based on that, but it just
I
seemed.
could see that. Rita and I had a conversation about
Did
the
that,
connectivity issue of, and we authored it. And
Yeah.
I had trouble to interpret connectivity
yeah,
in some cases. Connect one open space to another, or
Joanne and I had talked about it too.
it became a subjective evaluation.
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, if it connects a trail onto a loop or connects sections of an existing trail, if you do that, if you enhance that trail, I mean, that's a yes or no, right? Like you're gonna, and I think it was, I don't know, I just feel like those were not subjective. They were just more. That we should.
I would agree that it should be, but when I was actually taking it, I was sometimes finding myself, well, wait a minute, is it? Or isn't it?
Some of them are not existing trails, so like you said, if it were to be built.
Yeah,
Like
that's
in a horrible-
the point of
Like
the
on the
thing, right?
inner Monte that's like not built, it would be,
Yeah, but I guess,
I don't disagree, I'm just.
like, it facilitates ADA access. I don't think, as an assessor, I know for sure whether that could. I'm taking my best guess. Somebody's gotta look at that kind of knows.
Right.
I mean, I could say, I think, I know what ADA requirements really are, but I don't even know if I really know.
And even the participation by public, and I was struggling that a little bit, because I don't know, my high flood district, I knew
Exactly.
like just a
Yeah,
maybe they
yeah.
would because they're involved in that section, but the other sections I have no idea. Like what other public entity may or may not have an interest in being involved.
And
I just
that,
don't
I thought that could be either positive or negative. I
Correct.
mean, if you get a public entity involved, it's gonna delay your project,
Never.
but, or it could give you money. So, I mean, it's,
Yeah, I can see like the underpass, like if it straddles Louisville, Superior, Culver,
Mhm.
that would have. But some of the others is a little less clear.
I had that question too, with reviewing them. Is that a positive involving Boulder County? Is that a positive or negative?
Yeah.
And he said it was.
Did you see a way of segregating that?
I mean, do we make it 2 separate questions, that one deals with the delay versus funds?
Well, then do we?
but
really
do we know?
We do, that's our point,
Yeah.
do we really know?
Well, I think
I feel like
anytime
it's
you
almost
involve
like
another
a-
entity, it's going to involve some kind of delay.
I agree. But,
But
Could go to the extraordinary costs, like if you say it would cause delays because we're working with.
mhm.
I would see, on the surface, you would think it would be positive in terms of funding because you have other entities involved.
Right.
But I see what you're saying.
Could take longer.
It could take longer, maybe you get more funding because you're gonna help them. Other entities.
I guess I see the ranking overall as, it's a citizen ranking, citizen committee ranking. So high levels of expertise I don't think are really necessary. And it's, I think the real purpose is to try and call out the worst proposals and shelve them. And take the ones that we are most interested in and refer them in some kind of order to staff to evaluate for funding or work or further study. So the fact that we can't absolutely evaluate some of the details like cost or
I think
ADA or something.
I think the questions were good. It's another who's answering the questions. So I think, like, if you have these questions and you have the town answer the questions, like on the ADA question, like, we are kind of guessing. Like, I feel like you need someone official, and I think it's a good question. I just don't know if we're the right ones to answer that question. And so if you have that as input to your ranking, I don't know, that's just I just struggled with
Did you
it.
take a look at those questions that you think you could pre-populate in some cases?
I haven't really looked at them.
Okay, fair, if you want to be voting.
No, we're expected to. I don't.
One thing I didn't have to look at, but I can.
That would be intense.
But I know we sat and guessed. I don't know, I feel like I did it in an hour.
Well,
Maybe-
you know what I mean? I also used input for like wildlife and native plant impacts. I mean, I was doing my
Yeah,
best guess,
me too.
but
Me too.
I was like, oh, I wish I had like the Sensai data to
Yeah.
know where all these corridors
Mhm.
are. And some like, which I'm like, oh, now that I look at that, like, how did I rate that so low and everything did so high? We had a lot of outliers, a lot.
Mhm.
And
Like,
there
I
are,
had low and some people had a lot that stayed up high.
and every single trail had quite a range of
I know.
Yeah.
different-
Yeah.
Yeah, but even like one that I think we've consistently been putting on our BOCO request that I think turned out number 2, I'm like, well, we've had that for so long, like at this point with Miners Trail, like,
That was a minor one.
like I could say like, yeah, that's like a wildlife corridor down in there now. But I don't really know, like I wouldn't, I kind of was like, I feel like I need input on that, but
I struggle with the same thing now, it's gonna be my second thing too, I was really guessing on that, other than the
yeah,
2 or 3 places that I go a lot.
or you know, that's the priority to have.
So if we did this again, or when we do it next time, I'm not sure what the outcome would be. Would it be better for us to have a presentation by a staff member to review the features of each of these?
Maybe.
But that was sort of, the description sort of helped with it. I thought a lot of times that helped,
it was helpful.
because I think sometimes it did say that, you know, there was,
Just not all, yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't consistent among all.
yeah,
I think it was a really great
Yeah.
start, you
Yeah.
guys. I feel like we,
Mhm.
I looked at the variation and I'm like, oh, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
The other
Sure
thing
how we use this just yet, but I
And we
see the
can
same
make a difference, because we can have different, you know, things that are.
I know, yeah.
So, you know, I told myself that too when I was, you know, but yeah, I mean, I struggled.
and I thought extraordinary costs maybe could be on a more of a sliding scale. Because a bridge is gonna be pretty expensive, but, you know,
Retaining
some
wall.
retaining wall.
Going over that.
I felt that way about plant and wildlife. One, I thought we overweighted it
Yeah, like minus
Because-
4 or 0.
Yeah,
because there's no such, as I was thinking about, there's no such thing as an impact on plants. It doesn't have an impact on wildlife or
That's right.
vice versa.
Right.
But really, we increased the weighting to address Tracy's concerns.
Mhm.
And then we unknowingly doubled it because plant and
So
wildlife
might
are
that
really.
make more sense to just have it be one,
Yeah,
plant or wildlife?
yeah, and make like,
And or,
like cost, make it very.
Yeah.
Simply yes, no. You know, is it a -4, is it a -2? We didn't have that option. I would,
right,
I'm curious, all the opportunities out there, so like BOCO requests, And then grant opportunities, how many do we need to have prioritized, like in the pipeline to be like, Leslie, these are the ones, like how many are we realistically saying?
Great question.
Well, I will, that's a great question, because just kind of on a side note, we put in a grant for that trail on the west side of McCaslin, but it was really expensive.
Mhm.
And I think we asked for,
Connector.
yeah, I think we asked, I can't remember what the dollar.
That one?
No,
No, no,
Go-
on the west side. No, the west side.
yeah, just
I know.
follow McCaslin, but on the west side
Rock
Basi-
Creek
yeah,
Rock Creek to Colton.
we put in a grant for that, but they only gave us like 200,000 or 250,000. It was I think we put in like 2 million. I can't remember what the cost was gonna be.
But significantly less than.
Significantly less. So the question is, okay, we don't have enough money to do that. What's next?
Mhm.
What's the next priority for a trail?
Yeah.
Or a trail project? So I think that's a really good question. You know, when you look at grants, they do look at transportation kind of things. So can you get from point A to point, is it a transportation corridor, or is it just recreational? You know,
Yeah.
how does it serve the community?
But the one that came up ranked #1 overall by everybody was L, which is the Marshall Road underpass. So that'd be another expensive one.
Yeah, that's gonna be the.
Yeah,
But the second one, which isn't supposedly that expensive, relative, is Miner's Trail.
Well, Pirate Park would be even less.
Miners Trail?
Yeah, the one.
The industrial, you know, that's the one that the historical commission.
Industrial Mine Trail, yeah.
Yeah, so the other thing that might drive prioritization is if we're doing consulting for Coyote Ridge, would it therefore make sense to sort of focus on those connecting trails that help people get to Coyote Ridge, right?
To get two or either one in there, like Amber just said with Pirates Park.
Yeah, whether it's Fire Park or
And that's not it.
that connector that's on the east side of McCaslin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that goes between
That.
Golden Trailhead and, I mean, I think of that in conjunction with Coyote Ridge, it would like makes sense, right, to have this. Too.
I mean, it does, half a dozen,
Yeah.
is really as deep as you need to go.
Maybe a mix of expensive and the less expensive.
I mean, I think we put the ones that are valuable from a regional perspective at the top, but those tend to be the more expensive ones that require more than one participant. Like we would have to partner with the county and Louisville and CDOT and
So would it be worth it for us to look at the top 6, say, and then, I mean, I hate to belabor this, but could we come back and say, all right, we're gonna, within the committee, like, discuss, like, have these discussions, because like, I like what you're just saying right now, like, oh yeah, in the bigger context of the work, like, that totally makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And maybe we can reshuffle.
just have a little workshop on trail ranking.
Yeah, I mean,
I could do that. I could see doing that.
Here's how it should
Just,
go.
just
What
to,
do we think?
just to have a group conversation about each of them and then go back and
Mhm.
work it over again on these top ones.
Yeah.
I thought we did a pretty good job of sorting out good ideas from.
yeah, the exercise is good, right?
So, yeah.
It gets you started.
And it's still.
This is a pretty deep project. I mean, it's complex and
So,
Did result in a ranking that sort of made sense, like when I look at the list.
so I saw a difference kind of in ranking from the top, depending on how the conversation was going. I was going to suggest that we take the bottom 5 and retire them from consideration.
Oh, completely.
Maybe we want to retire higher up the list and just take them off the books and not worry about them anymore. And then I like Amber's suggestion of let's have another discussion about
An archive.
Like two of them
with some staff
are related.
in the conversation.
Yeah, that came out loud, yeah, which I.
Well, Trail F and then the Park one, both connectors to Coyote Ridge, so.
Which really,
They-
I so on my part one. It was so low. I looked at that and I'm like, no, I thought that was good because I think where there are social trails, like we should.
That's what a lot,
to that. You
that's
know?
where a lot of people come in walking the
Right.
dogs, right? So it's a little easier.
And that connection has some erosion issues.
Right.
Yeah, what is location?
Well, I'm saying like my ranking of like the park one, I was like, I don't know why it turned out that way. So actually, I think that's a good one. So I
Like what
think
she's saying.
that's where it might be helpful to take the top six and just process a lot more.
I went in a young family trying to go down that straight draw.
And things kind of.
It is,
Days ago, it was sad to watch. The parents trying to protect their kids sliding all the way down.
The parents are only the ones that
So if we do a step by step, Rita, you ought to start eliminate some subset. And then
Overall.
put on the agenda, a future agenda, a conversation about. Yeah. The top X number.
Are you saying eliminate and never consider again, or just for re-ranking the six?
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't make sense to lose the history of it,
Yeah, I wouldn't delete
but
it,
I would consider them.
You could have below the
No.
line.
but there were a number of trails that we didn't even include in this. Because,
They were really bad.
well,
Or
and some other dated,
Yeah.
most of them were something that already been built, maybe not exactly the way that was. originally Yeah,
just
Below
make an archive
number
tab.
5 or probably
Yeah.
just viable.
but I can read any of them, but I'm just trying to understand
Your point. like,
Yeah.
exactly what we want.
Yeah, I think we're saying archive the X, we need to decide how many to cut off, I guess. Can we remind, is there any way to? I mean, do you wanna do that now, or we wanna do that in our local workshop?
Well, you listed the top 6 ranked ones in the
Yeah.
summary, so.
Yeah.
And I put in those top 6, and I honestly didn't have any particular method to it. I was just like, I think we need to see this again, like, what were the top ones? And so that's why I put together that little summary.
I mean, I feel like, yes, this was probably a good exercise in the shading off some, so I think we could gray out the other ones and then come back and have. More processing of those top 6.
Okay.
And would these be reshuffled a little bit more? Like I could see, well, Miners Trail shows up in that top 6. Twice, right? I would assume
Because of 1 and 2, yeah.
yeah, so like.
Could we just pick one that we like? We like the loop better than.
The loop one definitely, the non-loop one is number 5, and the loop one was number 2.
But that's one like
Or
I
was
would
it
love
number
more
2 or
staff
3?
input on like, what do we
Yeah.
think wildlife looks like down there right now and. I don't agree. Again, I don't want to belabor it, but I think that could be helpful. Like that was helpful this time. Oh, yeah, Rich should rise to
Right.
in my opinion, but I agree.
Consultant might weigh in on that, that's what we're working to get, right? Saying, well, better factors, you need to improve your
Right.
consistency.
And I think we're gonna want to do this again next year anyway, but I can, for the next meeting, I can queue it up with just the 6 and send it out to you guys again. But Leslie, is that gonna create any problems with the grant stuff that you've just submitted? Because you've got the one that's October 1st, a non-motorized grant.
Well, that's kind of written, 2 of them are.
The grant, and I was gonna talk about it a little bit more further down, but that grant is for a plan. It's not for a particular,
So we
it's for a plan for Coyote Ridge,
yeah,
Right.
but it doesn't, no, it won't impact this.
okay,
But 2 of those connectors are 3 and 4, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
The miners part and Trail Coyote Ridge connectors. And they're 3 and 4 on this ranking, so I don't think it suggests that they aren't important.
No,
For the funding.
it might impact our, project to get a trail consultant to actually do some real work.
Yeah,
That this will help guide them.
the F is getting access to Coyote Ridge. It's not actually in Coyote.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the consultant would be looking at that. Do they
But we
take
could
that
ask
broader view?
Yeah,
So we have,
that's
I don't know.
that's important.
I don't know.
We didn't-
People who live in town. Parking lot, one. I'm like,
Right.
they're-
Well,
I mean,
unless they have-
South-
Accessibility.
They will if they can't hike up the hill. You know, if they have accessibility issues, those kind of things, if they have little kids, you know, whatever. But yes, you're right.
I just think it should be considered in that overall plan, Coyote Ridge, it's like, how do you get to it?
I agree.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And it's a big one, because it's such a huge.
So I have a.
Yeah.
Semi proposal. Let me just pacify you. What if 6 and 7 are weighted virtually identically? So. Let's
You want to
say,
go to 7?
let's say you draw a line at 7. If we wanted to reduce the number, we could all decide that we like the loop at Industrial Mine a whole lot better than the straight back. And so we ditched to AT.2. And that will leave us 6 to discuss. Okay.
So we're going down to 7, but deleting 5.
We're gonna delete the 5th ranked one. That's the straight industrial loop trail.
Not leave 6.
And we go down to 7, Trail G. Trail B, just so you know, what we're leaving off is that trail that goes from McCaslin through that access gate and up the side of the hill and joins the Meadowlark Trail.
Yeah.
The Renegade.
Yeah.
Trail.
Yeah, Boulder County, I think, has poo-pooed that sometime.
It's not a safe entry point.
Yeah, it's right on the road, like, I see people crossing the road there.
Right.
And it's
So-
just.
So I think we need to scratch that one too.
I'll get rid of that one, because they have access points
V.
at Orman Road, they have access at Fulton Trail.
You
Lane.
can say that
You don't
for
need
so
to jump-
many trails, though, you guys.
But you don't need to jump across the road and hop over the.
Well,
You don't do
we
that.
don't encourage people to
Yeah.
get hit by a car.
So
It's not-
So that's
it's a
the-
blind spot.
Number 8.
So then, Rita, we would come back and have a lengthier conversations about 1 through 7 minus 5.
Okay.
Liberty.
I'm ready to mix 5 yet. I don't know enough about the Miners Trail 2 options.
Well, one was a loop.
Well, I know.
One's the loop, the one's with the straight in and out.
Both following, you know, this old roadway, but like, does the loop follow?
No, not all the way.
So.
No, the part that goes to the north,
So
if
to
I'm
me,
remembering
to
correctly.
me, that would have more impact. So like, I would just like to know better.
And we're sure about that, Rita, because like I did the tour with Tom. And I thought there was stuff on.
I did the tour with Tom. And what he was doing was
So this should add a loop where this.
But I
goes-
think
and the loop goes back to the
This
north.
is the same area.
Right.
And what Tom walked when I did it with Tom, it was he just did the straight,
Yeah.
because that's all the content I did at that time.
Yeah, but I think, I
So
thought,
then this tells you that this doesn't follow the old roadway, unless there were 2 roadways.
but I thought there were records.
There are.
That you can see, that if you had a loop,
It's
that.
more than.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's exactly right. Yes,
And that's why the loop,
that's why
I don't want to draw the straight.
I would agree, so that's what we're saying.
Yeah, okay,
You have to exactly.
They use the same body section and we
Yeah,
terminate and
exactly.
go back from the same.
Or
I just let it.
Yeah.
it's county property, so they're gonna have their input too.
Yeah, yeah.
So keep the loops.
That's what we're saying.
That's a straight one, use the same bottom.
Yeah. And if you wanna just go out back, just do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's true, like, that's
You could still do it, like,
You can turn around and
No one's gonna
it's bad.
not that much.
it doesn't force you to take the.
And then maybe as part of that trail conversation, we returned to some of these questions about having weighted some of the questions properly. Or not, should we?
Like the plant and the animal, what do you,
Should
is
we come on
everybody
and plant
okay?
animals?
Plant, animal,
We
combine
make it
units,
variable. We add variable. And we can either do that or not.
I think we should have it separate.
But then should we reduce the points from a -4 to E for each to a -2? Although,
Or have a
Todd
range,
was, he wanted, in his mind, he said,
have a range.
A range is
So
good.
extreme, like -4 or 0. That, I was kind of struggling with that too. That
Yeah.
something in between.
Yeah, I think a range is, I would have liked to have been able to put a range,
Okay.
but I also realized that if you impact the plants, you impact the animals. It's kind of what you're talking about animals, you're talking about large mammals, or you're talking about bees and butterflies, but either way, they're all one and the same impact.
noxious weeds, and you're pulling them out, I'm all for that.
Well, we don't have to decide that right now.
No, I don't,
Yeah.
well, I just meant that if you wanted me to change it to have it reflected.
I don't think we can change it right now.
Okay.
I think it was really well put together. Thank you for that.
That was fun.
It's good.
Yeah, and then we just discuss each one,
Well,
right?
it made us think, and that's what we're supposed to be doing.
This is like that fun conversation we have.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Like,
Yes.
take one problem. Yeah. It's good. Good.
Hey, Rita, have what you need?
Yes,
And are we gonna kind of just discuss it more in the next meeting or?
yes. And I will send out the one with just the 6. I'm gonna say top 7 minus 5.
I'll provide you with the questions that they think they may want to know there.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the rodenticides campaign plan policy recommendation. Tracy isn't here, isn't there anything else that?
She was sharing some of that information with somebody, I can't remember. I have on my to-do list to send information out to all the HOAs on rodenticides. I have not done that yet. So on my to-do list.
Sorry, I just need to write this down. The next item on the agenda is the annual work plan review. And I had circulated that out to everyone. And I'm looking for input from everybody on the first and second quarter. I think that's what Sarah wanted us to hit tonight. And input. Any changes that you would suggest making to the first or second quarter items, first or second quarter list of items, and then I'll just say generally on the ongoing ones, if anybody noted anything in there.
I forgot in the first quarter, was there anything about planning on world migratory bridging?
It is, that's number 8 on the list. It is in there in the first quarter. And
These are calendar quarters, correct?
correct. So January through March, through June, through September, and the end of the year. And in the third quarter, sometime during this year, in a meeting, we had a discussion and suggested that perhaps items 1 and 2 that we currently have in the third quarter should be moved to the second quarter for next year. And I know we're not doing third quarter now, but since it impacts second quarter, I want to know if everybody thinks that that's still a good idea to make those changes. And that's reviewing the criteria and open space continuity parcel document rank and review. We had to move it up in the open space continuity parcel document. is the property evaluation,
And those are just to make the timing better for presenting that to the,
because.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
And then the other one is the open space summary report and recommendations. That's the property one. Open space continuity parcel document. Rank and review. Oh, that's the process of us ranking and review. And then from that work, we develop the report and the recommendations.
yeah.
Which basically means I just take the stuff that you put in the ranking process and drop it into a report. So you guys are all good with us moving that to second quarter? Okay.
Would you mind moving the first quarter item 7, the parade on playbook next steps to second quarter? Because really, the biggest determiner now is whether Pueblo is accepting prairie dogs, and that's yearly determined like late in the spring. So I feel like that's the best time for me to update that playbook.
I'm happy to do that. Second quarter looks like it's gonna be our busiest quarter.
So we're kind of, it seems like we're kind of heading into an era where we're gonna have Coyote Ridge projects or maybe trail improvement and trail projects in order for OSAC to provide feedback either for where to allocate spring and summer work or where to allocate budget. What time to talk about it in the summer is way too late. Is it
Right.
something that we should talk about it in a first quarter, or should we be talking about it in a fourth quarter, or?
I mean, what we're talking about now is probably gonna be work that happens in the first quarter. Yeah, so planning ahead a good 4 to 6 months. Yeah. And, I mean, I think once we get those projects rolling, I think there won't be a whole lot of decision making, but there will be some.
Is it something that should be built into this work plan? I don't know what you would call it.
Ongoing.
Project
this
scheduling or budgeting or something.
Well, we could actually call those projects out by name, and that might make more sense. And maybe we put them as a placeholder in the ongoing for now until we get a better handle on. Like the consultant, we have more control over. And hopefully we can get that person on before the end of the year and they can do some of their scouting and recommendations, but the work, isn't gonna happen in the winter. It's gonna happen probably March through,
Maybe
the summer.
2027.
Yeah. Yeah. And the trail plan, I mean, that's a plan, so some of that work can just be ongoing. I mean, it's gonna be ongoing year round. But that non-motorized trail plan, I'm setting it up to be a 2-year project so that we don't feel, it's really hard to get anything done in a year, so it feels like we have time to actually have an impact.
One of the things that ACES did is, things that were very discrete projects that could get done in a year, they broke that up by quarter, but these things that take a long time or sort of ongoing things, there was a line item in the work plan said ongoing items and just listed those things out.
Right.
It's something that we check in on occasionally during our monthly meetings, say, well, what's the status of the ongoing things? But we kind of went through the same thing as like, how do we tease out, and not have a 19-page work plan?
Yeah, right. That makes sense.
But I hear what you're saying, that kind of have a plan and eventually a schedule for OSAC to have input on these projects and plan ahead for that. So I'm gonna write a note.
Yeah. in conversation with the wildflower walk conversation, I did look up National Trails Day. National Trails Day, not necessarily ours, but National Trails Day is June 6th. Saturday, if you want to put that on, since second quarter, you've got other dates.
It's usually the first Saturday, it's the first Saturday of June every year.
Okay.
And we have it in the second quarter, host National Trails Day event.
Yeah.
And do you want me to add more about that?
Just don't, that's it. I'm calling for state.
First Saturday of June.
Okay. Okay, OSAC roundtable is next. Anybody have things to share?
I do. I got some feedback from people on the wildlife and habitat encouragement team, really concerned about the golf tournament. And they were concerned that people were throwing frisbees at the geese, near the geese. Yeah.
Purple.
Purple part. They had that women's competition a couple weekends ago.
Yeah.
And then about the rodenticide, no, the herbicide that was spread around the ponds. And I got an earful about that. I looked up the herbicide and it looked like it was supposedly safe, but the people who were concerned on the wildlife encouragement team have since said that they want to no longer participate in the wildlife encouragement team because they are not being heard. So the wildlife encouragement team is getting decimated.
They are, as part of the report on events at Monday's work session, they are going to talk about the disc golf tournament. So there might be a discussion anyway on whether we want to consider that in the future or not.
Personally, I thought it was a great event. And I mean, I think it must have been a one-off that somebody
There's a few bad apples.
yeah, during because the week leading up to it, they had everything set up. So people could go over and practice, or, you know, people not even affiliated with the tournament could go over and play. And you get some kids over there and think, oh, let's see if we can scare the geese with a frisbee. And people that live right there and see this are not happy.
Yeah. Yep. I'm
sure you're
of that.
So that's, but I think in order to revitalize the wild habitat, everything, I think Peter's suggestion, we could maybe get more people involved in doing that and, you know, doing some weeding over there and maybe planting and helping out with that. That could be a project that we could get people excited about, but right now they're pretty down about not treating the geese nicely.
Not everybody sees the value, so, and that's unfortunate.
But it's not exactly an Oxy Park, because Oxy Park has the frisbee golf.
Yeah.
Course,
But
that's
they-
why I was thinking when you said this golf or whatever, then why don't they have it at Oxy Park?
Oh, this is ridiculous. I mean, this is like a golf course.
Yeah.
I think this is great.
It's
Like,
not big enough for a national tournament at Autry.
okay, so it's that big of a deal.
And just a little bit of background, they've been doing it since 2015, every 2 years, basically,
Okay,
they come here. So we have temporary sleeves in the ground for them to put the baskets in, and they only do it for the tournament and they take them away, but it does seem like Purple Park is more utilized these days. You know, the tournament caused a little bit more user conflict than we've had in the past, so
Because they closed off the playground.
oh,
yeah.
with yellow tape. People were not happy about that either.
But it's a safety.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's time to reevaluate it.
and I heard that they didn't pay anything to host the. That's what I was
But the
told.
town didn't
The town didn't get any money from it.
Oh, it's not a lot, but we've charged them basically the same thing every year, so.
For that time and come.
It's increased incrementally a little bit, but it's,
But I get it, it's frustrating and hard when there's not community norms around, hey, we value our wildlife and all different types of wildlife, and that is reinforced too.
They can consider another location, even like a community park where there's like soccer practice fields are or something along there. If
Well,
that's big, I don't know if that's big enough or long enough, but.
I don't think we would put the dollar investment in to set it all up again.
It's a nice setup. I mean, if you saw how they spaced out the holes and, you know,
It's pretty neat.
it's a neat tournament.
But there are a lot of geese.
Yeah, and I think,
That's not, I don't know if that's always been the case, we have that many geese.
yeah, and then a too bad thing was that they had a community thing where you could go and, you know, learn about it. I was the only one that showed up.
Yeah,
Oh.
and that's unfortunate.
And that was unfortunate because they gave away frisbees, they gave away all tons of swag. If you would have just shown up and learned how to throw a frisbee and what this tournament was about.
Yeah. I do have to go
Come
back.
see you if we need a new frisbee.
Well, they gave me two.
Yes, a lot.
They gave me 2 sets. You got a putter and a driver.
Oh.
That's pretty cool.
I forgot to mention about the underpass, the Rock Creek Parkway underpass there at Purple Park. So that project is wrapping up, and the lights have been installed. And the mural will begin September 22nd.
Oh, there will be, oh, cool.
Yeah, so I don't know if you remember when they did the selection for the mural of Rock Creek right by Town Hall there, that one. The runner-up that was not chosen, a lot of people, I mean, it was a hard decision.
The one with the
I-
foxes in
The
it.
Fox one,
Okay.
so they chose that artist to do the one.
So that will be near the soccer fields on the other side, the underpass.
No,
The top.
Rock Creek Parkway. So
Rock Creek
the Purple Park,
Okay, sorry. I
Yeah.
was thinking.
yeah,
If there's one place that needs cement because we can't
Yeah.
afford all.
yes,
On the south end.
they put a chase train in there, so, yeah,
Oh, so
it's
that's.
not quite finished.
It looks good,
Well, good.
with the supports and everything.
Yeah. Anyway, that was an update I forgot to do.
Is that a one-day thing? It's installed September 22nd?
No, it'll be several days, and I think they're planning to have some kind of a community component where, like, paint by numbers almost. That
Oh,
you can sign up and go paint for, I don't know, an hour or half an hour, whatever the increments are. But, I don't have the detail on it yet, so.
okay. The only reminder that we have on our agenda tonight is, or reminder, sorry, that our October meeting. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's just your ad.
I don't
It
know.
was just throw hands around the table.
I'll just go now and kind of during the period off then, just to follow up, like a little bit of good news for wildlife. If anyone's driven down 88th and taken a ride on Campus Drive, down by the schools, by Monarch K8 and the high school. I was down there a few weeks ago for my daughter's cross-country event. And as we were leaving, I was like, oh, what are those signs? There's prairie dog relocation going on the high school property and the K8 property. So for a while, there have been burrows there. I know when I worked at the high school, I emailed the district facilities person and I said, hey, I know there's burrows and I'm interested in, you know, what's gonna happen. And the facilities person at that time was very receptive to ideas, and that was a couple years ago. But yeah, there's traps set all throughout like in the bus loop at the high school and the K-8, and onto the pre-K-8, property. And when I was driving by, there was actually a volunteer out there, like baiting the traps, and I stopped and talked to her. And there's even signage up saying, like, don't disturb the traps, there's a relocation effort going on. So there's a lot of traps. If you've never seen that kind of effort going on, there's a sign that says, like, by Growing Ideas LLC. And I'm not as familiar with that one, but looked it up and stopped and talked with the woman, and they're taking those prairie dogs to Pueblo. Yeah, and they said, yeah, we've got till the end of October, because that's how long Pueblo's open. So I was just like, well, yay. I mean, or rather they could coexist nearby, I think, but you know, I get it, they're right there on the property and then they had to do something, but yeah, an entity has put the effort in to find an organization to relocate them to Pueblo, so that's at least a little bit of good news and better than what I can say for Red Tail Ridge just across Campus Drive.
So they're not doing anything over there.
I don't know what the lease, but I am pretty sure there's legal management going on in different parts of that property.
What was the name of that company?
It's called Growing Ideas LLC is just what's on the sign. That's not an entity that I was familiar with, but it looks like they've done other relocation efforts. So anyway, it's just cool, and I'll kind of try to track that, but I also think it's pretty neat because, you know, these are on school properties, and what people decide to do in these instances is also demonstrating to our students stewardship or not. So anyway, just something cool for you. Yeah.
We're one of the prairie dogs.
We're one. I guess.
I don't have any around here.
No, excuse me.
And I have none.
We already
Yeah,
had
I
so go again.
Okay. I wanted to make doubly sure. So the reminders that we have on the agenda are our next meeting, which is October, is moved to October 1st. It's not the second Wednesday, it's the first Wednesday of the month. And Leave No Trace event is October 10th to the 12th. And Kari, is there anything that you want to ask of the group?
I think I don't know if Jeremy sent the email out, but there's emails that's supposed to be sent out on Tuesday. Okay. About just the classes, the workshop that's offered on Friday. So I highly encourage all of you to go. That's, I think, 1 to 4 p.m. That's here at the center at Long Speak Room. And it's just to learn about Leave No Trace principles, how we can, you know, work on stewardship efforts and things like that. And that's going to be with, like, it's invited to like a few of our committee members and partnerships and organizations and things like that. So it's a great way to connect. That's a big one, networking, and then also to learn about just Leave No Trace and what their efforts are like too. And it should be geared towards like the issues and things that we face here in Superior, you know, like mentioning about like e-bikes and dogs off leash and things like that. So those things will be touched upon so that it can be relatable to us. And then that's on the 10th, Friday. And then that was invite only. It's not open to the general public. So everyone should have received that email. And then the 11th, which is a Saturday, that is it is an event outside at South Pool. So we're accessing Coyote Ridge from that point. There's still a possible, if somebody would like, because I have to be there with Jeremy to help manage everything as well. But if anybody would like to volunteer to lead out, more than welcome to, from the south side of Coyote Ridge. And that one is, I think it's 9 to 12. I think that one is 9 to 12 at South Pool. And there will be booths and, you know, Leave No Trace being out there doing like a presentation, education, outreach. So that one's open to the general public. So just let your, you know, friends, family, people know, and they can come join us there. There'll be activities and things like that. If OSAC would like to have a booth, you're more than welcome to. But not required. I think it would, was really good if we did, just to have that, public outreach. So if that's something, we have like 2 people running that would be fine. And then the 12th, which is Sunday, is a stewardship projects of doing some trail maintenance and things like that at the south side of Coyote Ridge as well, from the south pool. And I believe that one was I think it's 9 to 12 as well. And just doing some, revegetation, things like that. Just trail maintenance projects
On that trail that's marked revegetation, that's
around that
near.
area.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a sign out there, yeah. So we're doing just that back side of like the homes, basically. Doing some top saving and things like that, just to give it some, make it look nicer. Yeah, it's been worn out. Needs some attention. Yeah, that one is gonna be volunteer efforts, receiving 10 volunteers for that one, so it is a nice project to move it from others to do. And tools only. That's pretty much it. And this is the Lead and Trace Spotlight event, so highlighting Coyote Ridge open space. And stewardship.
Okay. Okay, so standing updates, Raptor program. Nothing to report on that.
We don't have any person yet, do we? Or do we have a?
Well, I mean, Tracy would continue to report to us, yeah, nobody's offering to take the lead, nobody's stepping up. Wildlife monitoring.
Yeah, Tracy's out, but a couple of us have been backing her up while she's there, so just a report out on the camera. The 2 cameras that we have, because we do have a new one down by 88th Street. That's captured a few things, I think mostly raccoons, I believe. I was looking at it after I got back from my long Canada trip this summer, but and then the first camera over by Calamonte on Rock Creek has mostly been raccoons, but we've seen I captured 3 or 4 coyotes just this month. Coyote sightings, so. And then there was a sighting of Tracy and her husband was helping her adjust her back. Yeah, I mean, which is kind of cool, and they look pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, and then wildfire update is next.
I don't have anything else, I was just gonna bring up if we could reuse the trees. So, whatever, then we're using, that's it.
I have one that's kind of related to that. It's the Marshall Fire Remembrance. I know that there's 2 bids that proposals, I guess they're not bids, the 2 proposals that came in, we're gonna start to evaluate. So 2 different artists or architects or whatever came up with things that
They're conceptual.
I think so I think that's moving forward. There might be more. I think they're just they're scheduling what those 2 proposals were suggesting.
Yeah, right.
It's
Anything on prairie dog fan? No, thanks. Habitat preservation update?
I mean, other than what I talked about with Mile High Flood District and Peter's project.
Grant tasks, we have the non-motorized trail grant letter that we have.
Yeah, there's one other one that I might, if I have time, throw my hat in the ring for the forest restoration grant, but it's also due October 1st, so,
Questionable about whether you can.
questionable about the capacity to get it done, but there's some potential there, even though it's called a forest restoration, it can be habitat restoration in general.
Okay.
For the non-motorized trail grant, I could really use 2 more letters of support. So I've gotten commitments from Boulder County, Jefferson County, Broomfield. And I can have 2 more. Oh, and I have OSAC, so I need at least 20.
The sheriff.
It is Boulder County. I don't know what I'll ask and see if they have an interest in that. But I don't know if there's any user groups, like is there a contact for a mountain bike group or a running group or a hiking group that we might reach out to?
Group that just did the.
Tuesdays, Tuesday evenings.
Do you know who they are?
I don't know who the organizers, I just know that there's usually
Tuesday.
10 to 20 people that show up at Baby Brewing and they go for a walk around downtown and original town and then go back and have a tasty beverage.
I have to like, they're right downstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just.
And they're down there.
Is what it's like, they're,
I wouldn't say they need
relevant for
5 years.
Evening.
Yeah.
On Tuesday night, there's a large biking group, as large as 100 riders, mostly on gravel bikes, that comes through Old Town and goes down through Rock Creek and Community Park. And I've been unable to find who they are.
You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that because the guy who was the contact for Avid for Adventures, he runs a gravel group too. And I wonder if that's it. What?
Oh,
Did
it
you
might
send
be,
me
it might
in
be, because he
info?
told me he's always there all the time.
Say
Because
what?
he would ride like around Colton and stuff all the time with a group, but he didn't specify, so it might be him. Which is awesome.
It's a very large group.
Large group,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Adapted.
bet that's who it is. Probably, yeah. Okay, I could probably get one from Adapted Ventures too, so I'll ask you. I can have up to 5, so. I'm just glad we got Boulder County before their person retires.
Yeah.
Jefferson County and Broomfield also. Definitely write a letter.
But you haven't gotten the letter yet?
No, I just got the. Yes, we'll do it.
So. One thing I can think of is an HOA count.
Around that area, okay.
Well, we aren't around that area, but
What if the
Well, the Rock Creek
Creek
HOA.
Rock Creek HOA?
That would be fabulous. I'm not enthusiastic that we would get anything from
you live in Rock Creek HOA.
it.
Actually, so do you.
They don't meet often enough for us to probably get a letter back in time for the October 1st deadline.
No. But I think it's really easy to call a special meeting, because all you have to, well, it's been done under rules, but like in our rural HOA. We as our board of 5 can
It's
give
a-
24 hours notice.
Is it different?
Maybe not, maybe they just choose to have it that way.
Thank you for saying that for me.
How about Mountain View Fire? Relevant for them? Not so much.
No,
I think they'd rather see it better, managed
Yeah.
more.
I mean, I can ask.
Any adaptive groups?
Yeah,
That's, she had said that.
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
I didn't even know about that, but.
I went, and just as a side note, I showed up to your event when they came out to Colton Trailhead, and it was so much fun.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, how was it? Since I couldn't-
The bikes that these.
The adaptive
hand bike.
The
Oh,
adaptive
yes.
bikes,
That's cool.
It's
you think your bike is fancy.
Yeah.
Mm, These things were
Yeah.
pieces of work.
Yeah.
So they meet on the 25th at 7 p.m. That's their next stage.
This one, the agenda is.
They can always it that, just like we did tonight, rather than the. You can have something.
Thanks.
So Christie, if you could try to read that one.
Sure.
Is there any
I can-
guidelines that you could provide?
Yeah.
And
just show them.
Couldn't we even show them our letter?
Yeah.
I have a generic one
Okay.
that I sent to all the other groups, I guess. They can just put their name and who they are and sign it. That's all they.
Okay.
Call up ChatGPT.
Sorry, I just get fishy when I try to, I feel like there's an opportunity for them to have a positive impact on.
I
It's
agree.
a little frustrating.
I mean, I've reached out on a couple things to get into it.
Yeah,
I've heard that.
yeah. Okay, any communications update for Kevin that we need to send out? Okay. Well, with that said, then the meeting is adjourned.
Oh.
10 minutes.